Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
Don't you understand, George? It's because you were not born.
Film church.
Well, a boy's best friend is his mother.
I don't want to show life as it plays out in real time. I want to show life as I imagine it. That's what cinema is all about.
Hello. Welcome to Film Church Radio.
So formal.
I always try to change it up. I'm like, how many different ways can I try to say this? This is Film Church Radio, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. The congregation and the church is now in session. That's what they say at church, right?
I haven't been for a long time, so yep.
That's what we say here. This is the podcast that treats cinema as a religion. It's Sunday. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Lewis.
And we're here to talk about movies each week. Lewis. I was like, wait a minute. I almost said my own name. Each week, Lewis and I alternate picking a film to discuss and watch. And he cheated because last week he picked The Souvenir Part I. So I had to pick Souvenir Part II for this week.
That's right.
I mean, I could have done something else, but...
Yeah, Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so we picked The Souvenir Part II, which came out in 2021, and it's directed by Joanna Hogg. So if you're listening to this, I would highly recommend watching both of these movies, but also going back to the episode before this, listen to that episode, and then listen to this episode. Because as with these films, this episode is a continuation of the last episode. Before we discuss the movie, just want to say thank you to everybody who has been listening. We've been getting more and more listeners every week, and it's really exciting for us. And, we're just excited that anyone is listening.
Yeah.
But we both love hanging out, talking about movies, and we hope that you're here hanging out with us and listening to us talk about movies.
Yeah. And you can always just get involved. I mean, we love to know. We say every week what you think of the movies we watch. It's great to hear from you out there listening. That's what it's all about.
Before we get into this movie, we always do these little quick reviews where we talk about, what we've been watching for the week. So, Lewis.
Hello.
What's up? First of all.
Not much, dude. What's up with you? My savior of my dog. I know that, I want to put it on record that you saved my Dietrich.
That might be an overstatement.
Yeah, it does sound like she was in harm's way. Yeah. She wasn't, but we went on vacation recently and ran into a bit of a problem in terms of getting back. Flight was delayed quite a lot. And Brandon stepped in at the last minute and managed to go and pick up my dog from where she had been staying and took her to my house and dropped her off. And with the gas prices and everything going up, we really, really appreciated it.
No problem, dude.
So I wanted to put that out there.
She was actually really excited to see me. I was surprised. I was like, I wonder if she's going to bark.
Yeah.
But when I went in there, she was like, oh my God.
It's this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, she just curled up in the front seat.
Yeah, she's so chill.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's the best.
She didn't tear anything up, did she? Because when I dropped her off, I was like, and shut the door.
No,
there's always those videos of people coming home and the dogs rip the couch apart.
Yeah, you sent me a photo of her in a bed in my living room, and when we got home, she was in exactly the same position. So I'm sure she just went to sleep.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Cool.
But I wanted to say thank you.
Of course.
Before we jump into the proper show.
Yeah, man. And so you went on a little trip.
I sure did.
And we didn't even really talk about it. You told me you were going on vacation, and I was like, cool.
Yeah.
I wasn't like, where are you going? Or what are you doing?
Yeah, so we went on a Disney cruise, which was amazing, but I did not know that we would not have internet on said cruise. And we could pay for it, but we're already paying enough.
Yeah.
So I decided not to. And it was very strange being disconnected from everything.
Yeah. Was it therapeutic?
It was very nice. It was nice.
Yeah.
You know, it was very disheartening when we got back to land and I turned my phone back on and I had like 3 text messages the whole time I was gone. And I was like, cool.
Well, I just like, yeah, I think I messaged you a couple of times and then you didn't respond, and I was just like, I'll just leave him alone. You know? But
yeah, I didn't even realize that. I would have like been like, hey, I'm gonna be out of range, but
yeah,
I
I
think-
like hinted, like I was like, hey, the episode is ready to,
yeah,
it's ready to launch tomorrow. I like hinted like it's time to like write the
Yeah.
episode description.
Yeah.
I was like, I guess I'll just write it.
Yeah, I did feel really bad. Like when we got back, I was like, crap, I didn't do that.
No, it's all good, dude. It's not like it was that hard, but yeah.
Yeah, but we were there for like most of the week, but I still managed to watch so many movies this week.
Yeah. Well, first of all, you went on a Disney cruise?
That's right.
What was that like?
It was amazing, dude. Like, it was much better this was my first cruise ever.
Okay.
So
yeah.
I'd never been on a cruise before, and it was a short one in comparison to some of the other ones. It was like 4 days, something like that. So it was relatively short. But Disney have got their own like private island in the Bahamas,
So that's where you went?
and we were there for like a full day, and then kind of came back.
Nice.
And it was just the most. Do you know where you kind of like you go on vacation? Because the vacations we've been on recently, because of COVID and stuff, we're making up for lost time, so you just feel like you're running around all the time. I got to the point where I was so relaxed, and it was so great. So yeah, we
That's
all
awesome.
loved it. Yeah, it was great.
Were there like Disney characters walking around on the
Yeah.
cruise and stuff?
Yeah, like in the main like atrium bit, there was always like 3 or 4 like characters just hanging out.
Yeah. Did they have a movie theater on the cruise?
They did.
Did you go see anything?
No, so I didn't. I was really annoyed. The first night they were showing West Side Story at 11, I think, or 10:30 at night.
Yeah.
And because we were sharing a room with my like 2-year-old daughter, I was like, I don't really want to try and like, get back dressed into my regular clothes and like sneak out and then sneak back in at like because it's 3 hours long.
Yeah.
So I didn't. But they were showing West Side Story and Black Widow and Eternals.
Okay.
So
They didn't show Batman?
they didn't show Batman. I know.
Lame.
And when we got back to
They're like, that's DC.
yeah,
That's
we're
Warner
not
Brothers.
showing that. But when we got back to Orlando, we were there for a few days, and my wife was like, "Your parents really need to watch Amelia so we can go see the Batman." And I was like, "We'll have time," and then we didn't have time,
Yeah.
so I still haven't seen it yet.
Wow.
Yeah,
No spoilers? I guess your phone wasn't on, so.
yeah, I haven't seen anything.
There's really nothing to. Actually, I won't say anything.
No, I mean,
I was like, I'm one of those people that like, even telling you that there's nothing to spoil, I'm like, that's going to spoil something.
yeah, I feel like Spider-Man has exhausted me. I'm like, nothing can come close to my reaction to that.
Yeah.
So even if it was literally all the old Batmen showed up, I'd be like, meh. Because
Yeah.
we've already seen the best thing that's happened in a superhero film
Yeah.
happen in a superhero film.
Well, they're doing The Flash this year.
Yeah.
And Michael Keaton's coming back.
Yeah.
Ben Affleck, yeah. So they are doing a thing kind of
That
like that.
multiverse, yeah.
But, yeah, I did see the Batman. But, yeah, but when you see it, then we'll talk about it.
Sounds good. Yeah, I mean, this week I've just watched a lot of Oscar films.
Yeah.
Some of them good, some of them not so good. I'm really trying to watch every single film that's been nominated, but I know it's not going to happen.
Yeah, same here. I've been trying to get through them, but I thought I would get through more this week, but it's a lot.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I think I'm seeing the major ones,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
how I'm. There's 1 or 2 that I'm putting off, but
This would be a lot easier to do after the Oscars and just watching the ones that won.
yeah, for sure. Because you've spent 3 hours watching Parallel Mothers, and if it comes away with nothing, you'll be like, okay.
Yeah, but like I haven't watched that yet, but I would like that's a director I would like to watch all of his movies. Pedro Almodovar
Yeah. Mhm.
is Yeah, I've seen a few of his films, and they're all amazing. And he's also one of those people that, like, Quentin Tarantino is like, how come nobody is talking about this
Yeah.
guy? Like, but anyway.
We can talk about that on the Oscar
Yes,
prediction
we
special in 2 weeks' time. But we went to go and see Nosferatu together before I went on vacation.
That's right, me and you.
Yeah.
We went and saw that, and then a few days later I saw Batman. It was very
Gothic.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know that when we watched Sherlock Jr., you said that you'd never seen a silent film like in the cinema.
Yeah.
And literally that, like a few days later, my wife was looking through Alamo app and was like, they're showing Nosferatu in a few weeks. And I was like, I've got to
Thank
take
God
Brandon.
for your wife.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly. I was like, I've got to take Brandon. And it was a brand new score because it's the 100-year anniversary of it. I'd seen it a few times, so I knew what I was getting into. But yeah, what did you think?
Bro, like seeing a silent movie. Like, first of all, Nosferatu is a good movie.
Yeah.
Like, it was a great movie. But just seeing a silent film in a movie theater, like, was such a surreal, like, experience.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, you know, it's just like something that I've only dreamed of. You know, like watching movies like, I don't know, like The Majestic comes to mind. The movie with Jim Carrey where he's like working in an old movie theater and they're like showing silent films and stuff like that. Or just like seeing any other movie that's like referencing like, you know, the silent film era and like watching other people watch these old movies. It's just like that was 100 years ago, and just sitting in a movie theater watching a movie that, you know, people sat in the theater and watched 100 years ago was like, I don't know, like it's something that I hope everyone can experience, especially if you're someone who loves movies.
Yeah.
Like,
Agreed.
Like if there's a silent film showing in a movie theater, go see it. Like, it is it's the way that it was meant to be seen.
Yeah. And I know that with silent films, it's kind of, you know, it's one of those things, it's like foreign films. If you look away for a second, like if you're watching at home and you look at your phone for a minute and look back up, it's so easy to be completely lost.
Yeah.
But the thing about a cinema is you have to pay attention, especially in the Alamo. I know this is very basic and kind of like 21st century problems, but like when you actually sit and watch the film, like it's an hour and 40 minutes. It felt like 30.
Yeah.
It just zips by, you know, and it's so great to kind of see it projected on such a large screen as well.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun.
Good.
It was a really good movie. I mean, and it moved me. Like, there was parts of the movie that, it were emotional.
And it's still genuinely terrifying.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, Count Orlok is just horrifying, you know?
Yeah.
It's so good.
It was really good. It's interesting because I watched both. I watched the 1931 Dracula last year and the 1993 Dracula last year, and it's just crazy how much of the core story is there in just all three. Like, there's certain scenes that's there in all of those movies, Nosferatu and the Dracula movies. And they all have their own significance.
Yeah.
You know, and things to enjoy about them.
Yeah.
It's that story is one of those that's like, I don't know. Sometimes I'm, you know, I guess I'm kind of on the fence with like remaking films because that is a film that is not necessarily benefited from being remade, but like all the versions of it are enjoyable.
Yeah, exactly. And I think because it's not necessarily based on like an original property that was created by a screenwriter, it's based on an actual book.
Right.
I think there's a lot more room for interpretation. We look at Del Toro's Nightmare Alley. You know, there's already a 40s film made. Yeah. Pretty much with the same name and everything like that. But the source material is a little bit different. He uses, you know, he takes it a different way, I guess.
Yeah.
If there's something new to say, I'm all for, you know, making a new film. But if there's not, it's kind of a bit, you know, it worries me. But, yeah, I mean, the 1931 Dracula is good too.
Yeah.
You know.
Also, I just remembered this. I know we're being long-winded with our
Yeah.
quick reviews here. This is the long reviews episode. But yeah, when apparently the Spanish version, there's a Spanish version of the 1931 Dracula. Because they basically at the same time they shot the Spanish version and the English version back to back and used the same sets with different actors.
Okay.
And apparently the Spanish version is way more interesting and creepier.
Wow.
I just remembered that.
Because I've got the Universal Monsters Blu-ray set. I wonder if it's kind of
In there.
a special feature on there.
Yeah.
I'll have to have a look when I get back.
Yeah.
Because I do like alternate versions.
Yeah.
There's another film like that. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. Where they kind of released it, and then there's like a British version that they made they made them destroy it. Well, I can't remember off the top of my head, unfortunately. But there was a Blu-ray that came out with the British version on it as well.
Okay.
And I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna have to try and track that down. That's very interesting.
So what else?
I mean, Turning Red came out this weekend, the new Pixar film. Being on a Disney cruise, no guesses that I'm a massive fan of Disney, so we watched that with my daughter, and it's a lot of fun.
Okay, cool.
I love Pixar and Disney because, well, especially Pixar because they're really pushing forward on the, showing different cultures and different experiences on film.
Yeah.
And I just love the way the animation fit the characters for this one.
Yeah.
You could tell it was a personal story, but it's handling big issues in a way that Pixar can.
Yeah.
In like a cuddly, like kids under the age won't really realize that this is about puberty,
right?
And, like a period starting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
And it's streaming on Disney Plus, which I think is a shame because I do like films to get a theatrical release, especially because this is a first time like feature director as well. It would have been nice to have that in the cinema, but I think it's a film I'll watch quite a few times with it being there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was about it. I mean, I watched a lot of Oscar films, but I don't really want to talk about those too much.
So did you watch the Oscar films after the cruise, or
I
guess
just
while you were on the cruise?
It was before and then after.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so I crammed a lot in. A lot of the ones I did watch were like the shorts. I'm trying to get through the shorts quite quickly. So if I had a spare 20 minutes, I'd sit down and watch one.
Yeah.
And then kind of at night and stuff like that.
Killing it.
Yeah, I mean...
You're way ahead of me right now.
But shout out to Mitchell's versus the Machines.
You liked it a lot?
Yes.
Yeah, I watched it last year.
Oh, it's so good. Like... Yeah, I don't laugh easily at film. Like,
yeah,
I find things funny, but I'm not like, ha ha, like laughing really loud.
I kept being recommended of it, like by my sister and her husband, and then me and Sarah watched it, and maybe I was just in a bad mood or something. I mean, I didn't think it was a bad movie, but I wasn't like laughing out loud.
Yeah, I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, I think I was just having an off day or something.
And with it being a dad-daughter relationship,
oh yeah,
I was like, cool,
yeah,
I'm in.
Touched you in the feels.
That's right. So, I mean, animation category is going to be real hard this year.
Yeah.
To call.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
But more on that in 2 weeks' time. So you saw The Batman.
I did.
Like it? Loathe it?
It was a good Batman movie.
Good.
It was a Batman movie. It was good.
Nice.
Yeah.
It
was probably in the top 5 Batman movies.
Cool.
Probably.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
I think you will love it for a few reasons.
Okay.
I gave it a 4 out of 5.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we'll talk about that once you watch it.
Maybe that's a special we can do for our YouTube channel.
Yeah, we could. Definitely.
Live discussion.
I also watched House of Gucci. We'll talk about that with Oscar movies.
House of Gucci. Jared Leto.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he kind of didn't fit in that movie, but
No.
whatever.
Or
We'll
his
talk
suit.
about that more on the Oscar episode if you want to know. Skip a couple episodes ahead. I rewatched The Dark Knight after I watched Batman because I was like,
Yeah.
let's watch. No, I hadn't watched it in a long time, and bro, The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Jeez, man, it is
Every
so good.
minute is just perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It was. It's just so good.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, this. Everybody's seen it. Like,
Yeah,
you know what
exactly.
I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And then I watched Ascension, which is another Oscar documentary movie, and we'll talk about that later too.
Nice.
We're not even gonna have time to talk about all these Oscar movies in the Oscar episode. We're just gonna judge them. But
Yeah, I think it'd be real quick. Just like, I really like this performance. I don't know why this hasn't been nominated. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But
have you watched Ascension yet?
not yet.
It's interesting.
Okay.
It's interesting.
Nice.
It gives an interesting perspective on like the Chinese like corporate world, and I don't know. It just it gave me this feeling of the world is screwed.
Yeah. Which is probably not. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I have that feeling numerous times a day at the moment. So I just, yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, was it a good documentary, though? Did it make you care about the subject matter?
Not exactly.
Okay.
It doesn't exactly do anything except show you a bunch of stuff.
Okay. Because I know, like, there's a film critic in England called Mark Kermode that I really, really love. And he always says that, like, a documentary makes you care about something that you had no interest in before.
Yeah.
So, for example, I watched Summer of Soul. That's also nominated. And all that kind of music I'm not that into. But I had a blast and I've been listening to that music since.
Yeah.
And that's the sign of a good documentary to me, is something that makes you interested in something you didn't care about.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you care about the topics covered in Ascension?
I
don't know what it's about. So this could be me. Like,
it's kind of
do you
just
care
about like the working class in China, but it's also reflective of like America too in a lot of ways, as far as like, because all the stuff that these people are working on in China is being shipped to America, and these people's lives, it just stuck in factories making crap to please us all day.
Yeah.
It also it just, you know, it makes you think about it made me think about, you know, my life and, you know, the working class here in America, and, you know, how stuck like those people are too, but in a different way. Like, we're kind of a almost like a notch above, not a notch above in like status or anything, but like opportunities and like, just you know, privilege, I guess. And I don't know, it's one that it's good to watch because it opens your eyes to like the real world in a lot of ways. But because of that, it's like, oh, the real world is screwed.
Yeah.
You know, we're all screwed. Like, I don't know. It does make me want to make a difference in the world, because I'm like,
well, that's good. Yeah.
Let's stop doing, like, I don't know. Let's make the world a better place.
Yeah. Amen to that.
But yeah. And then I watched The Souvenir twice.
Nice.
Souvenir 2 twice.
Nice. I was going to say, talking of making the world a better place.
Yeah. So, spoilers ahead for The Souvenir Part 2.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it yet, definitely watch it. Definitely watch Souvenir 1.
I do feel that once it becomes available to at least rent or purchase on streaming, we can kind of talk about spoilers a little bit. If it's still been in the cinema, I would have been like, let's wait.
Yeah.
But it is available to download, to purchase. So
I was gonna wait around for, the hopeful Criterion 4K or Blu-ray 2-part release of the Souvenir 1 and 2. I just went ahead and bought it on Apple.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I want to watch this like
again,
a lot.
Yeah.
And I didn't rewatch the first one before I watched this one. Because I mean, if I had time, I might have, but I also didn't want to re-influence my thoughts of this one. But I loved it. Like I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
I'm sure you did too.
Yeah, I did.
It is a different. Well, it is seamless in a lot of ways. Like it just picks up where it left off, and it's filmed beautifully the same way, but it's more about, like, the first one I felt like was kind of trying to figure out who you are. I mean, this one is still, she's trying to figure out who she is a lot, but it felt a little more like she had become an adult and she was living in an adult world, whereas in the first one she was still kind of living in her childhood a bit in some ways. But when the movie starts, it's just, a few beautiful shots, and then we see her with her mother, Tilda Swinton, and the first line of dialogue, she's like, "My period's late."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh fuck, is that what this movie is about?" Like she's gonna have a child that we, that's from this guy, and we didn't, that just passed away. So immediately I was like, "Oh shit,
yeah,
here we go."
It's the dramatic, side. Not that Souvenir 1 wasn't dramatic, because the ending was very dramatic, but we talked about it last week. There was a lot of, like, it's getting to know the characters. It's like a lot of memories. It's not like the big, brash kind of like loud, "He's a drug addict," shoved down your throat.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is a very poignant thing to work on. But I'm sure, like, for Joanna Hogg, like, if this is autobiographical, I'm not sure to what extent, like, you would remember, like, this person that I loved passed away, and immediately after that, my period was late.
Yeah.
So that got me thinking, what if I'm pregnant? What, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
that's not what the movie ends up being about.
No, not at all.
Not at all. Yeah. But it was, like, on my mind for a while, for that first bit, until she, like, obviously does have her period, which you find out later, and you're like, all right, well, I guess she's not pregnant.
Yeah.
But still, in this first scene where she says that, I love how the dialogue in this movie is so perfect.
Yeah.
Like, they just say a little bit and they just leave it. And
exactly.
And that's all you need to hear. And there's so much more in the acting and stuff that goes on, because in this scene, that's all she says. And then the dad comes in.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry."
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Did you know about anything that was going on?"
Yeah.
And my first thought was just like, I mean, and that's all he says, right?
Yeah.
And then it's just kind of left in the silence there. And it's like, yeah, Dad, I fucking knew what was going on.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And the interesting thing about this movie, like, the dad stood out a lot to me in this one, because I think what she did was, like, kind of take the characters from the first one and just dial them up a little bit in this one, right?
Yeah.
So the dad is very, like I said in the first one, I made a note of Tilda Swinton, and I was like, motherly mother, all mothering.
Yeah.
This one is like daddily dad, all dadding.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, he's such a dad in this movie.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
But I loved it. Like, it was a little bit of comedy.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know?
And I think that was definitely I mean, it must have been intentional, but the first film felt very real. And I think this film felt a lot more fictional. Like even like I know we're gonna get to the end, but even like the fact of how it ends reminds you it's a movie. Right? It's just it felt a lot. I mean, there was a lot more when I think back to the first one, there's a lot of in the flat and in the restaurant, the really fancy restaurant that they eat at. They're the kind of two locations that I remember. And like out in the country as well. Whereas I feel like in this film, there's a lot more, like we go to film sets, we're on the street, like there's characters talking in kind of cars, there's like that are driving, there's a lot more, it feels more film in a way. Do you know what I mean by that? Like it just feels a little bit more.
Well, they make a
fictional
point of showing you that it's set too.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
I didn't notice until the second time that I watched it. I mean, at the end of this movie, the last shot is like they're at a party at her house, and the shot jumps out of the house and shows you that the party is inside this little built room,
which at first I thought was the like the room that they had built for the film in the film.
Right.
That's what I was like, okay, so they're having a party in the set.
Yeah.
Celebrating the end of the film.
Oh, okay.
But then it's not that.
No, it's not that. They're literally showing you that they filmed this movie in a set, on a set, on a soundstage. And then when I watched it the second time, there's a scene where she goes to the bathroom to puke.
Yeah.
And the shot of her puking in the toilet is the exact shot. So there's the scene where she's making her student film. This is her graduation film. And they're getting ready to shoot. It's like the first shot of her movie. She's got all these important, like there's so much weight in this scene, first of all, just to give some context to the people listening, in case you haven't watched the movie. She's working on her graduation film, first of all.
Yeah.
She's working on her graduation film with the other film students who are not supposed to be helping her because her professors told her not to make this movie.
Yeah.
Because she gave them the script and they wouldn't approve it to use for her graduation film.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then just the added pressure of being of just making a movie and having all of being the director and it being your script and having 10 20 people on set with you that you're trying to tell the set decorators what to do, you're trying to tell the actors what to do, you're trying to tell the cinematographer what to do, all of this stuff.
Well, it's achieving your vision.
Right. It's trying to achieve your vision and try to explain to everybody what you're doing.
Yeah.
But they all have their own preconceived ideas of what you're working on as well.
Yeah.
So it's like the first shot of the movie, there's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it was the first shot, but it's at least the first shot that we're seeing them make. And they're ready to go. Like the cinematographer's got the camera on the tripod, and this is the 80s. They're using film. All the equipment is bigger.
Yeah.
And she's like, I actually don't like this shot because we're seeing too much of the bathroom. I want to go to the other side and shoot
through the door. And
you can see how annoyed everyone is.
Yeah.
Like the cinematographer just immediately doesn't have faith in her.
Mm-hmm.
But it like when you hear what she's saying, it makes sense because she's trying to give the perspective of the girl character who can't see what's going on in the bathroom, right?
Yeah.
Long story short, they move the camera to the other side and they're shooting into this bathroom. They cover up the window with like this frosted glass, the window that they were shooting from originally with this frosted glass. Later on in the movie, the real character, not the character, like not the movie within the movie, but the character we're following, she's throwing up in the bathroom and it's the exact same shot, it's the exact same bathroom, but it's like in her apartment. Yeah. And then I was like, and then I started noticing like the background through the windows in her apartment was the same background in the film that they're filming.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh shit.
It starts to blur a little bit between what they're filming and what they're actually doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very well done.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, the whole, because for the first one, I mean, like I was reading that it is a reproduction of her apartment that she lived in at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I listened to an interview and she was saying that she was like walking around the set, she was having memories because it was like she was back in that place.
Yeah.
And then for the film they use in part 2, the actual, like the backdrop they use are photos that she took of the apartment that she lived in at that time. So not the actual apartment that Julie lives in, but the apartment in the film has the backdrop that Joanna Hogg had in her flat.
Yeah.
So it's all kind of, all these things are just like merging together to blur reality a little bit. I think this film especially is more of her being like, I really wish, I mean, I don't want to put words in her mouth, but like maybe if she had made this film then, she could have dealt with the grief a little better.
Yeah.
Or like it would have been this, like her making the movie was how she dealt with this person that she knew passing away.
Yeah.
And maybe this is her being like, okay, I wish I'd made it at this point.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. Yeah, I wasn't. It's hard to tell what is the movie.
Yeah,
and what is
exactly.
like Joanna Hogg's actual story.
Yeah,
You know?
Especially in this one, I feel like part 1 was very
Accurate.
yes,
Yeah.
and this one is a lot more. You know, you can tell that probably certain conversations happened. But yeah, I think this one is a lot more fantastic. It's a lot, fantastical and just a little bit more fictional.
Yeah.
But the fact that these two things blend seamlessly together is just outstanding to me.
Yeah.
You know, I watched them, like you were saying earlier, I kind of watched the first one day and then watched part 2 the next. I could not wait to start. Like, as soon as you said that that's what we're watching, I was like, I want to watch it. And it like, you could watch them together and it would just be a perfect film.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do next because my girlfriend hasn't watched them yet and I think she would really like them a lot. And I want to just like pick a day and watch them back to back.
Yeah.
And see what she thinks of them because, yeah, man, they're just so good. Like, I just had this feeling at a point watching it that I just wanted to stay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to stay with these characters and live in this world.
Yeah. Julie is one of my, I love the performance of Anna Swinton-Byrne. I just love the character. You know, I know that like a few people, critics that I read online talked about the kind of the privileged background that she comes from.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it, but also why can't these people have experiences like this?
Yeah.
You know,
we're all humans.
Yeah, it doesn't take away because, you know, she is from a more privileged household, I guess, but I don't think that takes away anything from the story.
No.
It's not
at all.
It's never ever about privilege. You know, I mean, the character that she meets, Anthony, like, is also from a privileged background. Like, he holds himself very proper and stuff like that. But then we find out in this film, like is he? Like, all of it could be false.
Yeah.
Like, we have no idea.
Yeah.
And neither does she. You know, and that kind of is the bottom line of this movie, right? Is that she just has no idea who this Anthony actually was.
Yeah.
Like, she thought she knew him. And then that little thread kind of gets pulled. And she's like, I don't even know what's true. Like, she asks Patrick, like, did he even work for is it the Home Office? I think she says, I can't quite remember what his job is, but she was like, did he even work there? Like, I don't even, like, the most basic facts about him.
She has to be worked for the Foreign Office.
That's it, yeah.
And I was like, what? That sounds like some government thing.
I think it was, right, because in the first one, with the car bombs and stuff like that, I think he was supposed to be there to, like, he was saying that he was working with them to stop that happening.
Mm.
So that would be, you know, a central, like,
I guess he was in the military. We do know that.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Because there's that photo of him in the first one.
Yeah.
I totally forgot.
Um,
this is just random, but I told you last week when we talked about the other episode that I didn't like come to the realization that this was set in the 80s until like later in the movie, and I
Yeah.
was like, oh, well, duh.
Yeah.
But whenever he shows her that photo of him in the military, and he's like, this was taken in 1974, I was like, what?
How old is this guy?
Yeah.
He looks so good.
It's like, okay. But anyway, yeah, obviously there's a lot she doesn't know.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, on the topic of, I don't want to spend our whole episode talking about Anthony again, because I think, it's not his film this time.
yeah, but I mean, it's both films are about her in relation to him, though.
Yeah.
It's about her trying to find herself, and he has a big influence on her, even after he passes, and she's trying to explain her film to her film professors.
Yeah.
She uses something in line with what he tells her.
Yeah.
Yeah, or what he what he had not told her to say or anything, but just like obviously something he said had an influence on her, right? And the way that she's interpreting art and seeing the world, she is sometimes seeing it through him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the way that he would see art and see things. And yeah, this movie is about processing grief and like processing it, like people it's specifically just about her processing the grief, but she does mention, she briefly touches on like the fact that her parents are processing, or not her parents, but his parents are processing it in a different way.
That's what I was going to touch on. The scene very early on when she goes to see his parents is probably one of my favorite scenes in either film.
Really?
It's so touching, and I think I said it last week, I don't love, that's the wrong word, but I think that a film that can show you grief in like a really poignant way works for me a lot more. Normally we get like someone passes away and then we get a scene of someone like the main character crying at a funeral, and then later on they're like, okay, I'm moving on now. Whereas this is like 2 hours devoted to like this character is processing what happened in part one.
Yeah.
And that scene with his parents is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Like we think a lot about Julie and kind of like how is she processing it, but he also had like a family that loved him, know, and like they had no idea either.
Yeah.
And then they give him the photo of him as a child. It's just it's just so so sweet, but also like for Julie to have to go through that and go and see the parents as well is heartbreaking for her, because she's having to be the heavy. She's having to go around doing the hard work for Anthony again.
Yeah.
Which is, is so upsetting.
Yeah.
And then she goes to see the shrink, and the shrink literally says to her, he had no reason to carry on.
Yeah.
Which I was like, why would you say that to someone?
Yeah.
I understand that like he'd probably reached the end of, he knew he wasn't going to be able to get this monkey off his back. But to someone that's trying to process their grief as a therapist.
Yeah. Yeah. I basically I feel like there's a scene there before she says that where Julie is like telling the therapist, the whole story. I don't know how you could tell a therapist enough information for a therapist to come to that conclusion, but I get, I guess in some ways she was trying to give a reason for his death.
Was that Anthony's therapist? I got the impression that that's who it was.
Maybe. I don't know.
That's who that's what I thought, because I'm sure she said something on the lines of like doctor-patient confidentiality. I can't really say what we talked about.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
Which again, I think shows a lot more about the character in terms of where he's at. Like he's obviously trying to get help.
Yeah, definitely.
He's obviously trying to figure it out.
Yeah, that would change a lot of what's going on there.
Yeah. But
I mean, I saw it more of just her saying like he lived a good life, like he lived a full life, and
Yeah.
just that he had come to the end of it.
yeah,
Not that, like, because he didn't like kill himself, right? I mean,
it was an overdose, wasn't it? I mean, it's
I mean, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
because, I mean, yeah, it's
I
hard to,
It's hard to know if that was an accident or whatever. Like,
yeah, yeah. I mean, just
I'm
just the
sh-
way that it's described kind of stuck with my head a lot. Just that he'd gone to kind of a train station bathroom, and that's where they found him.
yeah.
You know, there's not. I mean, there's nothing more isolating than a public restroom. You know, it's
Yeah.
not like it's kind of, I don't know, homey in any way.
Right.
You know, it's
yeah.
very sterile and white and bright and
Yeah.
awful. So
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, I think the fact that we followed Julie, kind of trying to find out more about him, and also her trying to make an expression of how she feels as well,
Yeah.
is really well balanced. You know,
Yeah.
it's never
Yeah.
like, I don't know, it never gets too much. You know, and the film that she's trying to make about it, like, I understand the frustration of the crew, because I'm sure they say it's only like, the script is only like what, 13 pages, 14 pages, and it's not even like dialogue and stuff. It's just like her writing down thoughts.
Yeah.
And like, I like to have a plan as a person, so I can imagine being on set and this person's like, I don't really know what we're going to shoot today. I've got it in my head. I'd be like, I hate this.
Yeah.
Like, I can't work like this.
Now, the interesting thing about
Obviously, I've never been on a film set personally,
yeah,
so I don't know how it works per se. But
Well, it's like that.
yeah, yeah,
It's like it's a lot of people not knowing what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
But what is interesting about so there's two movies being made in this movie. There's Julie's movie,
yeah.
and then there is Patrick's movie.
Love Patrick.
He is he was in the first one.
Yeah,
He was Anthony's friend, but I didn't know he was a director until, this movie.
yeah,
Like the character anyway.
yeah,
And they're shooting it almost feels like a music video, something very 80s like stage production thing.
yeah.
But I had this realization. There's a scene where this Patrick guy, he's watching a cut of his movie, and Julie is there, the editor is there, this other production person is there, which is Patrick's girlfriend. But they're all there watching this cut,
Yeah,
and right off the bat, he's upset because
Yeah.
he's like, because they added something that he didn't know they added into the scene, and then he asks Julie what she thinks of it, and she's like, "It was exciting." She genuinely seems excited about the scene,
Yeah.
right? And he says something like, "That was incredibly generic."
yeah. Like, please be specific.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you're just like, "Geez, bro."
I know.
Like,
I love that
Dang.
scene. Is one I had to rewind and watch a few times because I just think it's so. A, it's really funny, and B, it's just really well acted.
yeah,
I, I love the bit where I don't know, maybe an editor or something like that was like, "Oh, can we just cut to a close up of him?" And he's like, "Oh, did we film a close up of him?" And they're like, "No." And he's like, "Then we can't put it in, can we?"
yeah,
And it's that kind of like backhanded, like, I'm so done with this crap,
yeah, yeah.
It's-
But he's so good at being an a-hole. Like, I actually was like, man, screw this guy.
yeah,
And it was like kind of the same thing that I had with the first one with Anthony, where like I was like, oh, I'm really pissed at this guy. He's a really good actor.
yeah,
So like what you were saying earlier about how this movie is a little more like fantasy,
Yeah.
and the characters are a little more like the first one, they felt really real.
hmm
In this one, Patrick is the one to
Yeah.
me that feels real. Like, that is a real person, like, not an actor. Like, this is, we're seeing some like real
Yeah.
stuff. And so yeah, I really because of that, I really like his character all
Yeah.
through this movie. But the point I was trying to make about like basically about there's two different movies going on. Like they're making two different movies in this movie.
Yeah.
Besides the movie that we're watching.
Can you
Not
keep
to
up?
confuse you too much.
Yeah.
But Julie is making a movie, going through the process of trying to get a movie
Yeah.
made, and Patrick is going through the process of trying to make a movie. They both have the same problem. They both don't know how to communicate
What they want.
Yeah. Julie is a first time, not first time director, but this is her graduation student film, right?
Yeah.
The movie that Patrick is making has money behind it. Like it's a big budget,
Yeah.
or not big budget necessarily, but it's some kind of studio project,
Yeah.
right? Julie is having trouble communicating what she wants with the crew. And throughout the movie, she's talking with the crew to kind of, she's processing, like she's making this movie to process.
Yeah.
She wrote a script, but she doesn't even know what it means, right?
Yeah, exactly.
She's like in the scenes through having actors interpret what she wrote. She's learning more about herself, and she's learning more about Anthony
And the situation.
and the dynamics, because everybody's breaking it down for her, or trying to at least. And this guy Patrick, who he's doing the exact same thing she is doing, but he's just being a dick about it. And he's asking Julie what she thinks, and she says it's exciting. He says that's incredibly generic. Well, what does Patrick think about it?
Yeah.
Patrick doesn't know what to think about what he made either.
Yeah, he wants someone,
and he's aggressively trying to get other people to tell him what he's doing, because he doesn't know either.
Yeah.
Like, I found that really interesting.
That is a really interesting parallel that I hadn't thought about while I was watching it.
Yeah.
Just the way that the two responded. I mean, the scene that I remember a lot about, like the filmmaking process for Julie, is when they're in the back of the van, and is it the DP?
Yeah.
And he's just like, we have no idea what we're doing. Like from day to day, like you need to sort this out, and she's just silent. Someone else is kind of like backing her up for her.
Yeah.
Because she can't, like, she has no response to it.
Yeah.
Where he is very, like, and then we see him, I think it's either just before that scene or just after, and he's been kicked off the edit because he's too volatile, like they can't work with him.
Yeah.
So they've finished filming, they've kicked him off the edit.
Yeah.
But I was listening to, again, an interview with her the other day, Joanna Hogg, and she said that, like, while she was at film school, and this is why I think Patrick is kind of a little, maybe drawn from her as well a little bit. She talked a lot about how, like, when she was at film school, she thought she was going to be the next Spielberg. And I was like, okay, so this was 1984. The like Hollywood...
E.T. had just come out.
Yeah. The Hollywood brats had pretty much taken over.
Yeah.
Like, and kicked the old Hollywood out and kind of started something fresh. And, like, we talked a lot about, the filmmakers that we love growing up with, these new filmmakers that were changing what Hollywood cinema and cinema in general could be. This is just the same for these characters, right? I mean, for Patrick, it looks like a Hollywood musical.
Yeah.
Like, it looks like the kind of thing you would see 40s Warner Brothers, like, sets. But he's progressive. He's trying, like, the interview is like, oh, we're in rainy England. We don't want to be... I'm trying to do something a bit more fun and fresh.
Yeah.
It's using the old, but developing it a little bit. It reminded me a lot of Peter Bogdanovich as well, because I know that that's kind of what he did. He really respected the Hollywood of the past,
but
was trying to kind of like build it up. And there's a lot of kind of like cinema history, I feel like, going on under the surface here.
Yeah.
A lot of these kind of new directors not really sure, still loving the old stuff, but wanting to break away as they'd seen other people do 10 years before.
Yeah.
And I know that, well, again, from this interview, she said that she watched a lot of like musicals when she was at film school, she was really attracted to like the big Hollywood musicals, and that's where like the kind of the dream sequence at the end of the movie goes for me.
Yeah.
When she's watching her student film back in front of the audience, and we go into like the dream sequence, it reminds me a lot of the end of Singing in the Rain.
Yeah.
You know, the big last number, gotta dance, all that kind of stuff. That's what it reminded me of. And I can see those influences coming through.
Yeah. Did you listen to that A24
I'd already
podcast?
listened to it. Yeah.
Okay. So there is an A24 podcast out there with Martin Scorsese and Joanna Hogg talking about the Souvenir. It's in between making these movies. So she had just made the Souvenir and she was about to go start the Souvenir Part II. It's a really great interview, or conversation really, just between the two of them. But that end sequence that you're referring to, that gets very fantastical, very fantasy like. It starts when they're watching her film.
Yeah.
So it almost like kind of suggests that this is the film.
Yeah, is this the film that she made? Yeah.
But it's not the actors that they've been shooting with. It's literally just Julie.
Yeah.
And I saw it as like, I mean, yes, referencing like musicals and stuff like that, but I saw it for the character anyway. Basically, her really diving into herself.
Yeah.
And her brain and her emotions, and she keeps going deeper and deeper into her emotions that she needs to process.
Yeah.
And in the center of it, there's all these people that are close to her.
Yeah.
You know, there's her mom, there's her dad, there's her friends, there's the actors that are in this movie and stuff. And then I'm not sure what the representation of the mask of Anthony that she's like wearing on her face, and then she hands it to her mother. I'm not really sure what that represents, but she quickly leaves, and you see every scene that you just saw, you see her leaving.
Yeah.
Right. And then it cuts to her, just Julie, like normal, out in the normal world by a field, and she's just like running.
Yeah.
And like the music kicks in and stuff. I found that like incredibly moving, like in a way that only cinema could do, because there's no dialogue.
Yeah, and it's not telling you exactly what is happening.
Yeah,
it's very interpretational. You can take what you. I mean, like you said, for me, it was her watching the film back, closing the chapter on that book, on that time of her life. You know, she points the camera at Anthony, and it's like he's been shot. He falls to the ground.
Yeah,
it's like the memory is not the memory, but like that point is done.
Yeah,
like she's pointing the camera at the situation. It's ended it.
Yeah,
she's dealt with her grief. She's moving on now.
Yeah, and exactly, and like. Yeah, and like she's just free at that moment. She's just running free of, you know, whatever she's been through. She's processed it.
Yeah,
and she's now ready for whatever's next. You know.
Yeah. Does it change the ending of the Souvenir Part 1 for you at all? Because I mean, it did for me.
Yeah, in some ways, yeah, and that's why I really want to rewatch it so soon. You know, it wasn't exactly what I expected.
No.
You know, and I don't think it ruins it or in any way.
No, not at all.
But it I don't know, man.
I mean, what's great for us is we recorded Part 1 before we'd seen Part 2.
Yeah, it was good.
So we could.
I almost wish that I mean, I am glad we did that, but I almost wish that I hadn't processed Part 1 before I watched Part. Like, I kind of wish I had watched them back to back because I tried to interpret that movie so much before going into Part 2 that it does change a lot of things. Like, especially the crossover characters, like Patrick, for instance. How is that character going to change when I go back and watch
Yeah.
that scene where he like tells her that her boyfriend is a
Exactly.
heroin addict.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Especially knowing how much of a dick he is now.
Yeah.
You know, was he doing that to be a dick?
Yeah.
You know?
To push the buttons.
Yeah.
And kind of watch it implode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like I feel like it will change a lot, especially just because of the characters and stuff. I mean her friend, Marland. He's like that. He's like, I think, the assistant director or something.
Yeah.
And he's in the first one, right? He
is. Yeah.
Jagan I think is how you say his name.
Mm.
But yeah, he was really good in this. Like I mean, I liked him in the first one, but in this one, I liked him even more.
Yeah.
You know,
I like that he just, like I was talking about the bus scene, he just stood up for him. Was like,
yeah.
Like, it's her vision. We've got to follow. Like,
Yeah.
she knows what she's doing. We just need to give her the space to work out how to tell us what to do.
Yeah, and there's like a scene where they're driving in the car earlier, where he's like telling her, you know, that she's got really good ideas, and like he believes in her and stuff, and he's just like giving her such good encouragement to just, you know, say, you know, fuck all the expectations of what you're trying to be. Just like try to be true to yourself, and you'll make something good, which is like what people need to hear.
Yeah,
you know. So yeah, I appreciate him so much more in this that I can't, like, I'm interested how that.
We're changing part 1. Yeah.
Yeah, by rewatching part 1. Yeah. And knowing just more about the characters, you know, just knowing more about. Having more context, because this one gives you just so much more context. Going back to the first one, I feel like I'll understand a lot more.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm really just curious, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's another, like, this film is so dense in what it's trying to cover that it kind of sneaks up on you, because not only is it dealing with her processing grief, it's also dealing with her finishing school and this kind of like final film that she's been trying to put out, you know, artistically, but it's also her romantically moving on from a toxic relationship.
Yeah.
You know, there's all the scenes that we haven't even touched upon yet where she's in those situations with men and like she's trying to move on, basically. She's trying to, like, you know, move on to the next relationship, and they all end pretty terribly.
Yeah, I mean, there's the scene with Charlie Heaton, from Stranger Things, which is intense and like clearly just supposed to be as dirty and like as possible,
degrading and just
just like this is just like physical.
Both of them probably felt super ashamed.
Yeah.
Like after this was done. You know, it was very...
It was not supposed to be like,
no,
here's a new love interest. It was like, I need some sex.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And it's funny, like, as soon as I heard his voice in the first scene he was in, I was like, is that guy from Stranger Things? And then it just shows like his silhouette almost. And I was like, is that?
Yeah, I know.
You know? I was like, it is. It's your boy. But yeah, it's funny when, you know, like strange, like they're almost like the people in that show are getting typecast in all the 80s movies.
Yeah.
But he's great in the movie and does what he needs to do.
Yeah, he doesn't have a lot to do apart from one of the most vile scenes, you know.
But that cut, like, obviously if you've seen the movie, you know what we're talking about. Like, they have sex while she's on her period, and it's as dirty as it can be.
Yeah.
But she walks in the room and there's just the blood on the bed.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to the red car. It's just like, that was fucking cool.
Yeah.
Like, that was a great cut.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, then there's this other scene where she's, you know, she's gone through this stuff we've been talking about, you know, the struggle she's had making her movie. And then she's in the edit watching some clips for the first time. And she's like reprocessing, you know, the the tensions and the things that they were struggling with on set. You know, like you're seeing, you have this idea of the movie you were making, but then like when you actually see the footage and have something to cut together, like now you kind of almost have to start from scratch again. It's like, okay, now I have to make a movie just from the clips that I have.
Yeah.
And you know, she again seems a little bit lost, and then the editor like gives her some really encouraging words, and like you can tell how much she appreciates it, and you can also tell like how many times he's been through this. Like he's obviously like a good editor. Like he's edited a lot of stuff, and he's you know, dealt with a lot of directors like seeing their footage for the first time and being like, this looks like shit.
Yeah.
So he gives her some really encouraging words, and then it extends into the scene where they're at a restaurant, and again he's like encouraging her, and she like you can tell like she genuinely appreciates it, and then she's just like, do you want to come back to my apartment?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
He's like, well, I'm supposed to make dinner for my boyfriend. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry, you know, I misunderstood or whatever. And but yeah, she even says to her therapist, or you know, it maybe was Anthony's therapist, but she even says like, I think I'm struggling with, I forget what she says exactly. She's like struggling with her idea of Anthony versus the reality of him or something like that. I know
how she remembers
she
remembers him versus how he actually was.
Yeah. And that maybe she just misses someone being in her bed, like being next to her, and like being able to kind of
just that emotional support, like anyone that kind of shows her that, you know.
But she even words it like almost control her. Like she says, she words it like that. So it's like you can, you know, and that dips into kind of the negative things about Anthony that were there, you know, watching it for the first time, not knowing that he was going to die, and just thinking, what a toxic person. Because like that's kind of your first thoughts watching it.
Yeah, it is.
Because he is controlling, and he is, I mean, in some ways, like I feel like the character of Anthony was trying to encourage her in her filmmaking, but he was also very, like, he wasn't that guy that just believed in her. He was like,
he pushed her a lot, not pushed her in the right way maybe, but he did, like there's that scene in the restaurant where he kind of pushes back a little bit, and I think, is it with his parents or maybe her parents, where they're talking about her film idea, and he's like, yeah, I don't know if this is right for you. Like he's always been, I don't know, he's very opinionated and not always supportive.
Yeah.
So as soon as someone does show that support, she's like, oh, this is what I've missed. Like this is what you know I need.
Yeah.
Is that kind of thing. But again, it deals with memories a lot. It's kind of one of those things where in the moment, I'm sure she was super embarrassed about asking the guy to come back, who was gay. But then when you look back on it, you're like, okay, she was obviously, that was the point where she was ready to move on.
Yeah.
Where, you know, things started to kind of get brighter.
Yeah.
Because she made that leap. You know, it's not just an animalistic impulse for two people. It was actually like, I feel like we're having a connection.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Which is so, again, it's not, everything in this film is so slight that you can miss it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, until you talk about it to somebody.
Yeah.
There's so many layers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just phenomenal. I can't get
it
over
really
how
is.
good.
Like it, I mean, just for me personally, like, it has given me different perspectives on myself. And, you know, that's immediately kind of why I bought both of them, because I was like, I want to rewatch these over and over because it's therapeutic in a lot of ways. And especially as a filmmaker, just because, like, it's about trying to create art through film and collaborate with people and deal with a-holes and, like, you know, having people not believe in you, and then people also, like, tell you that you're like believe in you too much, almost like tell you that you can do no wrong or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, all that stuff. And then just like how real the characters are. Like I said, it's just fun to live in this world.
Yeah,
You know.
100%.
Um, yeah, I crack up at the dad like in every scene in this movie. Like the scene where I think she's just thrown up, and her mom is right outside the door, and then she like sneaks away so that she doesn't know she was outside the door.
Yeah.
She comes downstairs, and it's like clearly a very like down moment.
Yeah.
Because the mother is like, obviously Julie is struggling, and the mother feels so much pain for her daughter.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Where's my funny girl?" You know?
Yeah.
And she doesn't say anything.
Yeah.
And then she like puts the vase or like the little sugar jar that her mom has made on the mantle, and it falls and breaks. And she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And the father just comes in and he's like, "Oh, was that the..." He's like, "Vandalized." It's just like, what the fuck, Dad? Like,
just mixing it up. It is just a perfect kind of, I don't know, view of family life, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
I already feel bad enough without you coming in and saying like
it's
just the wrong thing to say at the right time.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. And then even like, it's so funny because like he sits down and they walk out of the room for a second, and the dog makes a noise. He like looks over at the dog and he like shrugs, like he's like, "What?"
Yeah. I think there's a lot more comedy in this film than the first one, which
definitely.
I liked. It's a lot more freer, you know. The kind of the bulk of the story I feel has been told in part one, and part two is just like the characters, like you said, are dialed up. They get to be themselves because it's not.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily have to impact the story because it's just a continuation of what's already been so masterfully told.
Yeah, it's interesting because like, yeah, I think the first one was like basically her, like Joanna Hogg, trying to be as true to life as possible as far as like what that relationship was like for her, and not think about the death part of it, which had to be very hard, like to already like have experienced the grief and then go through life, and live so much more of your life dealing with that grief, because grief is like something that's with you, you know. And then to try to take yourself out of that to make a film about someone before that time, you know, had to be extremely hard to put yourself in that headspace, right?
Not look at it through rose-tinted glasses.
Yeah, exactly. Which I think she did like an incredible job.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
And then, basically part two is almost like what the rest of her life has been like. You know, it's like or just at least the first part of the grief part of her life, you know, and trying to process that. So in a lot of ways it's a very different movie, and then in other ways it's seamless.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But geez, man, so good. And like,
yeah, and I want to give a shout. I mean, Tilda Swinton again. Like, I don't know how I don't know if it was scripted or not. I mean, some of the things she says are just perfect. I mean, again, you know, in the first part where she comes down and she's like the worst, like just the choice of words for her character is so poignant. I think about when they're sitting together in the living room and Julie says like, "What? Like, how did you feel when he died?" And there's that really long pause.
Yeah.
And she's like, "I felt through you."
Yeah.
And just again, it's just a perfect choice of words for a mothering. What you know? It's such a motherly response.
Yeah.
But you understand completely the emotions that she felt.
Yeah.
You know, just watching her daughter have to deal with this must have been. You know, and you know that you can't do anything. Like, what can you do? Other than support them and kind of...
Yeah, because it's... like you said, like, the scene is interesting because Julie is, like, almost being an antagonist. She's, like, trying to find out if her mom really even cared about this person that she cared so much about. And, you know, it's like, you know, like how can you?
Exactly.
Like how could she anyway?
Yeah.
Like it's or like we don't even know the timeline of how long they were together, but
Yeah.
like unless like even I feel like even like a mother who has spent a lot of time with your child's significant other, like you're never gonna love that person more than your child.
No.
You know what I mean? So like, but like that's what Julie. It seems like she's wanting out of her mother. She's like, "Did you love him?
Yeah,
Did
exactly.
you care
Yeah.
about him?" And it's like pretty intense. So like for her to have something so good to say,
Yeah, dude.
was yeah, it was like it's an intense moment.
It is, and I feel that at that point as well, Julie is just like, I feel like she's clutching at straws a little bit to really, like, is anything about this guy true? Like, I think, doesn't it happen about an hour into the film after she's gone to see Patrick, she's gone to see the therapist, she's gone to see his family, like, and nobody's really telling her anything concrete. She still doesn't really know who he was completely. And at this point, she's just like, did you even like him? Like,
Yeah.
are the people around me lying about him as well?
Yeah.
Like, was I just completely wrong about this guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, again, it's just so well handled for these characters. It's just so slight that you could miss it, and then it sits with you. And you're like, oh crap, that's beautiful. Like that's like the most. You could not write a better line than that.
Yeah.
And I feel like that about so much of this film.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It is beautiful.
Yeah, it is. And film has to be personal. Or not necessarily has to be, but works well if it's personal. And it's just like, you feel like Joanna Hogg after watching these films.
Definitely. Yeah.
Which it's great.
Yeah. I'm going to watch her other movies. I know she's only got like 3 other than these 2, I think. So be an easy watch. Yeah. But yeah, man, like I feel like a lot of my perspective on film has changed just with these 2 movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's so many amazing shots in this movie. Just watching the Souvenir again, or watching Souvenir Part 2, I watched it twice, and there's so many things that's like that I felt like I don't know how she would have explained to someone that this was the shot to get. Just kind of like in the movie when Julie is having trouble like trying to say, hey, move this camera and put it over here, and the DP is like, that doesn't make sense. I mean, there's a shot, like the shot where she goes to see the parents, or the scene where she goes to see the parents, and then she's leaving and they hand her the picture. In the shot, like in the foreground, there's a glass right in the middle of the fucking camera.
Yeah.
Out of focus.
Yeah. And
it looks really good.
Yeah.
Like, and it makes you feel in the room, and it makes you feel like you're just watching real life, because the camera's just tucked back here where there's stuff in front of the lens.
Yeah, you're just sitting on the couch.
Yeah. And like
yeah.
If I was the DP on that movie and she was like, put this glass right in the middle of the camera, I would be like, like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But it works so well. It's like, it's crazy. So yeah, just in terms, like, I mean, we've been dissecting the story here, but in terms of like the filmmaking, it's like, it's also just a lesson in great filmmaking.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to enjoy here.
Yeah, there is so much, and I don't think an hour podcast is going to get even close to like the center of this film.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's so many layers, there's so much to it. Julie is one of my all-time favorite film characters now. I just love, I just love that character so much.
Yeah.
I love the performance of it as well. It's It's such a beautiful double bill.
Yeah.
And I just hope more people, keep watching this film. And keep trying to discovering it because it's so good.
Yeah.
And that's why I really hope it does get a Criterion release.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that more people can see it.
I mean, it was the Sight and Sound #1 movie.
Yeah.
Did that do much for it?
I mean, it came out in England in February. I know that it didn't. I don't know if it broke into the top 10 in the box office wise. It might have done for like a week or two.
Yeah.
But it has. I don't think it's done like stellar business. But in a way, like as long as it made enough money, I mean, she's got the backing of Martin Scorsese, which is really helpful. Joanna Hogg. But as long as it made enough money for it to be profitable and for it to keep making movies, I feel like we've found a hidden gem. I feel like it's one of those films that you can be like, to anybody that loves film, you need to watch The Souvenir.
Yeah. I can't believe this rating on IMDb for Part 1, 6.4 out of 10. I'm like, who is rating these movies? You guys are crazy.
Yeah. This is, The Godfather's celebrating the 50th anniversary. One of the most perfect first and second films ever.
I mean, this is like right up there.
Yeah, dude. Like, I can't think of many films that do such a perfect job of continuing the story like this.
Yeah.
Because when you think of these kind of films, you don't get a sequel very often. So to have
for
this,
a film like this, you don't. Definitely not. Yeah.
So already that was interesting to me, but it was needed. You needed kind of to see these characters deal with what had just happened.
Yeah.
I don't think we could sing enough praises for this film.
Yeah. I was just looking at some of the awards. I mean, the first film won the Grand Jury Prize at Sundance in 2019, and I don't see anything for Sundance for the second one, so I guess it didn't show. But I mean, it won like some British Independent Film Awards. But yeah, like, I mean, I like I said, I bought both, and now this is a movie that I'm just gonna, like, when I go visit people, I'm gonna take my Apple TV or my laptop
and just be like, we're watching it.
Just like, let's watch this.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a film that I need to share. And I'm glad we're talking about him on this podcast. Hopefully that gets more people to watch.
Exactly.
But just personally as a filmmaker, like, this is going to be something I turn to a lot.
Yeah.
Just for guidance. You know what I mean? Because it's like, I mean, just listening to that, that conversation between Martin Scorsese and Joanna Hogg talking about filmmaking was so encouraging, because, like, as a filmmaker, you realize, the struggle is part of it. Like, all this self-doubt and just all this stuff that you feel like as an artist trying to create something, all the negativity towards yourself, and just being hard on yourself or feeling like you're not good enough and that kind of stuff. They all feel it.
Yeah.
That's a part of it, and it's just so encouraging to hear other people talk about how they got through it.
Yeah.
And how they pushed through and kept going. I mean, in that conversation, Martin Scorsese was talking about how he was, I think, after New York was going to be done with filmmaking. Like, that was before Raging Bull.
Yeah.
Like, that was before, so many other, that was in the end of the 70s.
Yeah.
He was like, I don't think I'm going to make another movie. I don't know how I could ever connect again with a material.
Wow. Because I know that Raging Bull wasn't exactly like a fun, like, nobody really got what he was trying to do.
Well, it was mostly Robert De Niro that got him to do it.
Yeah.
Because, he was like, I don't know. And I mean, Robert De Niro read the book and and was like, I can play this character and I need to play him now while I'm in shape.
Yeah.
And you need to direct it. And I mean, he mentions in that conversation with Joanna Hogg that like he wouldn't have done it if Robert De Niro wasn't like his friend from childhood. Like they knew each other when they were 16, and like he knew him. So like he realized once they started making the movie, it was like, oh, you do know me. You did know that this was the right thing for me to do.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just so encouraging, man. And like, you know, like I said in the last episode, just like hearing, like watching this character of Julie go from like, I don't know what I want to do. Do I want to go to film school? What am I doing? To, you know, by the end of this one, just that scene where she's running free, man. It's just like, what a journey.
Yeah.
Like that was beautiful. That was like some beautiful shit.
Yeah, dude.
So
I don't think we can say much. I think that's a perfect place to draw to a close.
To end it.
Yeah, dude.
So what are we doing next week? What are we watching?
Yeah, so it's gonna be an Oscar film or an Oscar nominated film that we haven't seen. And I don't know whether you said that I cheated a little bit by picking
I'm
part
just
one.
kidding.
I know,
I'm kidding.
but I don't know whether to like cheat again and kind of get you to pick one of two, or just to pick it.
Get me to pick?
Yeah, me give you an option of two, and you choose which one.
Okay.
Because there's
Whatever you
two.
wanna do.
I keep like jumping back and forth between both.
Okay, what are they? I mean, we're going to talk about them on the Oscar special anyways.
West Side Story.
Okay.
Or Drive My Car.
Mm.
Both up for Best Picture. Both available to stream. This is why it's been so tough.
I think we should do Drive My Car.
Sweet, let's do it. Okay, good. I want to watch both of them, but like, which one do you think would probably be a more
talk that long about West Side Story?
Cool. Yeah, Drive My Car it is then.
Not that
it's bad.
Yeah, I watched half of it so far.
Oh, okay.
And I'm just like, it's West Side Story.
Yeah, because I haven't seen the original.
I mean,
so
the filmmaking is good, but
yeah.
like, it's another one of those. We were talking before the podcast about the tragedy of Macbeth.
Yeah.
And how I don't understand how. I mean, I understand, but it's just a little bit mind-boggling that, like, you know, companies will pay millions for a director to indulge themselves.
Yeah.
West Side Story is very indulgent.
Okay.
It's like,
I mean, we were just talking earlier about remakes and like having source material and like changing it.
Yeah.
You know, and then maybe doing a remake.
I think if you love West Side Story, you're gonna love.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
You're gonna love this remake.
Yeah.
If you know, and I don't know what the play is like compared to the two, but I'm sure if you're, you know, you come to the theater and all that, you'll probably love it. But then again, maybe not.
Yeah. Well, cool. Drive My Car, you know, gives me a reason to watch it.
Yeah.
Soon, which is what I wanted.
I think.
Yeah.
But so was West Side Story. So.
Yeah, exactly. That was the thing. I was just like, neither
I
of it's
almost
gonna
watched it the other night, and I was like, 3 hours.
Yeah. Seven Samurai Syndrome again.
I was like, maybe later.
Yeah.
And then I started something else and didn't finish it.
Later is now.
Yeah, so Drive My Car next week.
Yeah. Getting ready. That's the, you know, the runway to us taking off to our Oscar special. And I know we've got a few fun things planned around the Oscars.
Yeah.
So, yeah, stay tuned.
Thanks for listening, folks. And do you have any advice for a young filmmaker?
It just has to be something people won't forget as soon as the credits roll. And I definitely won't forget The Souvenir.
Me either.
Not for a long time.
All right, y'all. Say your film church prayers.
Amen.
Amen. Bye, y'all.
Bye.